No, not the zombie apocalypse.
Not the zombie apocalypse. What?
A horror movie.
Okay, fuck. Well,
listen, folks. We're rusty. Okay, it's been.
No, I'm re-recording. Shut up! Don't try and play it off. No, this is you're speaking into the garbage can right now.
Welcome to Drafted. I'm your host, Daniel Prentice, and as always, I am joined by my dear friend and co-host, Preston Thompson. Preston, how are you doing? What are you drinking tonight, my friend?
I'm good, Daniel. It's spooky season.
Was that
Happy Halloween, my friend. Spooky season. It's one of those. It's in the middle somewhere. Happy Halloween. Yeah. Do you care to share what you're going as for Halloween this year?
Sure. I am going to go as Mikasa from Attack on Titan. I won't be going in, I won't be going to any Halloween parties, but I am going to be doing a live stream on Twitch in, full Mikasa cosplay, as a result of all the money we raised a couple months ago on my charity stream. So
Incredible.
That's why I'm having to do that. Yeah, I have a wig and everything. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
That's
what
amazing.
About you?
I frankly don't know. We've got 2 more days to figure it out. I'm not sure what we're gonna do. I'm open to suggestions from both both of you on here and our entire community. Although it will be pretty tight by the time they're hearing this.
Yeah, let's get our guest in on this because I feel like we couldn't have a better guest than to come up with a last second costume idea for Preston here. Then one Patrick Stegemoeller. Pat, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. What are you drinking tonight, and how are you doing?
What's up, fellas? I'm drinking a little one shooter of whiskey poured into a Coke Zero because it's a Sunday night.
Yeah,
I keep it classy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
And for Halloween this past weekend, Lisa and I were 2 people who have just now gotten back from this year's Burning Man.
I saw this.
So
such a great idea for a costume.
which was kind of semi easy costume to do in terms of just cut up a t-shirt, had some shorts that already had a hole in them, kind of cut those up, put a little headband on, but put some blood splotches on it.
Right. Bought
a shitty gemstone necklace and then hit it with a hammer a couple times to make it look wrong. And it gives you an excuse for being late everywhere as part of your costume. So that when we were inevitably 40 minutes late to every function, we were just
sorry,
we just got back from Burning Stone.
In character. Yeah,
in character. But Preston, if you need a last minute thing for this is you're going to be giving out candy. Is that the vibe?
To the children? Yeah. So I don't know that
party?
the children would understand the last minute home from Burning Man. Birmingham. Burning Man. I don't think they'd really get either, but particularly the one you went as.
Here's so ideally this is something that you already have household goods around.
Sure. That
you can just turn into a costume.
Mm-hmm.
Cut some holes in a garbage bag, and you're a high school wrestler.
Oh, that's good. You're cutting weight.
Right.
Oh,
you know how in high school those wrestlers would run around with garbage bags on?
I did do that actually when I was in high school. Although I was 130 pounds or something. They're like, we need you to get down to 120. I was like, I'll die. I'll cease to exist. And they're like, do it anyways, kid. Yes, I do remember running around with the garbage bag on. Okay, that's a good one.
There you go.
You could get a bunch of tinfoil, make a little horn, hot glue it to your forehead.
I wouldn't do that. I would skip that step.
Skip the hot glue to the forehead part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just going to end up being Barbie Ken, but
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like a very specific Ken.
Horse Ken, rock Ken,
well,
one of those. Sporty Ken.
Maybe not horse Ken.
Beach Ken.
Yeah. You could be waste management Ken.
Waste management Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corporate Ken.
I have to say, Preston, with as much as your wife values Halloween. I'm really surprised that she doesn't have a costume like laid out for you already.
I know. It is weird that she values it in the sense of like decorations and like creating a fun experience for the kids, but we always wait until the last minute to do our costumes.
What day in September does Lauren get out the Halloween decorations?
Like the 20th, maybe. They're up for about a month and a half. And then what's hilarious is on November 1st, I haven't even made it home and they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, she can't stand it. There was one year she started taking them down on Halloween night while kids were still coming because the peak of them had gone. So, like, she can't stand having them a second past Halloween, which is a little strange, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was like a September 1st kind of person.
For Christmas, we do go pretty early, I will say. Pre-Thanksgiving.
Pre-Thanksgiving, yeesh. Mm-hmm. That's too early for me. We're already hearing the Christmas ads on TV. Have you guys noticed this?
And the things are in Target already.
That's what I've heard. I've not been to Target
the
last couple weeks, but I have heard that. Yeah. It's too early, man. At least you gotta I understand the pre-Thanksgiving Christmas stuff, but pre-Halloween, what are we doing here? Am I wrong?
That's the real scare.
Being a homeowner sounds wild.
Let me make it perfectly clear, Patrick Stegemoeller. I am not one. I am a home renter, which is why our decorations are impermanent.
Well, I think there's no hiding the fact that we're doing a Halloween special, and we had a fantastic idea submitted to us by one Lindsay Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
But of course, it's Preston's job to reveal what that draft is. But I had to get that shout in because we appreciate the draft ideas, but we especially appreciate the good draft ideas. So what are we drafting to celebrate Halloween this year, Preston?
Well, tonight we are drafting the best drafted podcast guest crew to survive a slasher horror film. Which I have two follow-ups here. One, I will ask Daniel, on the off chance we have a first-time listener, would you recommend that this is the place that they start with our show?
So, that's true. I not consider this. This is a bit of a wrinkle, because I've always said, you really don't need to listen to the episodes in any particular order.
This is the exception.
If you're looking for a first episode, just do whatever episode calls to you as the one you listen to first. I will say the reason we asked Pat on for this, Sue could not join. Sue was on a weeks-long vacation on the West Coast, and I hope they're having a great time out there. But of our other listeners, I think Pat is the biggest fan of the show. So I felt like he would be the most comfortable drafting our other guest draft.
He's also particularly ruthless, which I think is a quality needed here too. He's not going to be too nice. He's not going to mince words.
Okay, if we flipped this draft and said we're actually drafting the people to be most likely to be the villain in a slasher movie, is Pat number one pick?
No. I would personally take Tad, because there's a whole period of Tad before any of us knew him, and we're not quite sure what happened then. He could have seen some shit.
Isn't Tad becoming a firefighter?
Is that right?
That's correct.
That's amazing.
I think it's anti-firefighter to say that Tad would be the most likely to be a serial killer.
But I feel like a lot of firefighters are fucked up arsonists and stuff. Isn't that right?
He's doing a Dexter, where he wants to be close to the situation.
I'm not going to disparage our firefighters. I don't think. Wow. I'm not going to go on the record.
back the yellow.
Back the red.
Back the red.
Yeah. the thick
red.
The thick red line keeps us safe from
thick red line.
fires.
Dummy thick.
Put that on a t-shirt, fire departments.
The thick red line. Okay, so my follow-up question is, have either of you seen a movie from the early 2000s called House of Wax?
No.
I have not, but I remember seeing trailers for it as a child and thinking, nope.
Yeah, I watched it in preparation for this draft, and Paris Hilton gets speared through the face with a javelin, And I think just YouTube that, listeners at home, just because it's fun. It's a fun, like, early 2000s of through the face with a giant javelin. No, she does not live.
Depends where it hits her in the face, you know?
In the middle, so no. Not particularly. It is quite the film, so I would highly recommend it as a sort of, like, really corny slasher film, but everybody loves it.
I'm surprised a horror movie would kill... I'm surprised they would kill off Paris Hilton. You'd think they'd want to, like, rely on her acting chops to carry the rest of the film.
Well...
Okay, she's, like, in the car. All right.
Pat's watching it.
Oh, God, is he actually watching the clip?
She seems like she's doing okay.
Yeah, she almost gets away.
Oh, she's fleeing the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Right in the face.
Who threw the javelin?
Creepy House of Wax guy. Clearly the villain here, Dan. I don't think one of our heroes is throwing a javelin at Paris Hilton. Unless she's the villain. But no.
Well, I don't know. Depends on how you feel about Paris Hilton, I guess.
Wow. Okay, there's a take. Anyways, moving on.
Someone I
Is that a hot take?
Someone I was going out with last night was part of a very convincing 2-part costume of Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie from The Simple Life.
Yeah?
Which did not realize that's what it was at first. I was like, you just look very bizarre and rural.
It just looks strange.
Just look very strange.
It's a bit of a dated reference, really.
There is really nothing worse than having to explain your Halloween costume to somebody in that way. Although I think
20 years since that show.
Pat's, I think the glory of yours is it's the answer to the natural question. So it's not awkward.
That's the
Right.
key.
The costume is the answer to the question people are going to ask. Whereas, like, you having to ask them, I feel like they're a little sheepish now about it, you know? Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, it's like, oh, dude, it's a class. You gotta watch. Do you have time right now? Can you go watch it real quick? It's like one of those, yeah.
Can you go Google this YouTube scene of Paris Hilton getting smashed in the
who would
face
do
with
that?
a javelin?
All right, before we go totally down a rabbit hole of just watching scenes from horror movies.
What's good about this is we can cut all of that and lose nothing because
No valuable contribution, baby. That's the name of my game.
Are we all squared away on this draft? Are we good to get started?
I have a couple questions.
What you got for us, Pat?
So one, are we like on our teams or are we on the draft board?
We're on the draft board, including Preston and me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just hope I get picked.
Got it.
It's like kickball. I just want to play.
And we're trying to. It's who has the most
survival time.
The most survivors. Who you think are the most survivors at the end? Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So we're drafting virgins.
They can.
We're drafting who is most
victims,
likely to be a virgin.
Yes.
Sure. Why not?
Is this?
Depending on the horror movie, I guess. Pat's going supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Like real Satanist. Our draft order.
Feel like
yeah, go ahead, Pat.
No.
No, come on. It's got to be a gem. There's no way.
No, I'm just saying. I feel like in like most slasher movies, it's the like virginal, beacon of morality is the one who survives at the end, whereas all the.
Is this true?
So.
I gotta admit, I don't watch many horror movies.
If you get picked early, perhaps first, know that it is, the word on the street is that you're a virgin. For those of you listening out there. Preston, who's going first?
You're really setting me up here, Pat.
Yeah, I guess now is a good time. Pat has really set me up here for the draft order. Preston does have the first pick. I have the second pick, and then Pat has pick number 3, and of course, as always, snake style drafts, the order will reverse on even rounds. Preston, who is the most virginal of our drafted personnel?
Well, listen, guys, you can't frame it like that, okay? Not cool.
Yeah, I like that Pat did it though.
Yeah, sure. Okay, listen. For the actual draft here. Never has a choice been so easy for me.
Really?
I want to be able to sleep in my own bed after recording this and not feel like I've betrayed the person closest to me, besides Daniel.
Oh, boy.
And
Good
Thanks.
qualifier.
For that reason, I'm going to take Lauren, my wife. I'm going to take Lauren.
You want to do it?
I think what we really need in this situation is somebody who has spent their entire adult life managing chaotic situations. And who better than an elementary school teacher? I feel like that preparation of everybody shut up, we got to figure this out, is exactly what I need. So even if we're not married, I still think this is the easy top choice here. Just from her management capabilities.
Interesting. Pat, what do you think?
I just think there's a certain implication that Preston has just made there that
You guys have got to stop this.
we should all sit with. That kind of reflects on more than one person.
I am not looking at this the way Pat is looking at it.
Thank you.
And I admit I don't watch a ton of slasher movies or really horror movies of any nature. But I feel like in order for Lauren to survive, she's got to be the main character, right? Because I feel like the pretty straight women in horror movies are the main character and then they live or they die.
Well, that is one of the two options.
So,
yeah.
So are you confident that Lauren is the main character
Yes.
here?
I am.
Okay. Then I think
She's
it's
got
okay.
leadership energy. When shit starts to break, she's stepping in.
Yeah.
And I think that's the person that makes it through. She's going to be rattled with the guilt of getting some of her comrades killed by the decisions she makes.
Wait.
Well,
what?
somebody's going to die. It's a slasher horror film. If nobody dies, then where's the slasher come from?
Maybe
they don't
So
even
listen,
into her
she's going to
decisions.
say, hey, friggin' Nerd Mario, go out and get us some firewood, and friggin' Nerd Mario's not going to come back. And she's going to have to live with that. But that's part of the reason I think that she makes it out.
Don't you think we should blame the serial killer here, though, more than we blame Lauren for
Listen,
Mario's
you do
death?
whatever you want, but Lauren's going to blame herself. That's the kind of person she is.
I feel that.
Already
That's
off
tough.
to a
That's tough life
deeply
to live.
weird start.
Yeah. And this is the person I feel most comfortable
Did you
talking
expect
about.
anything
This
else?
is going to get worse as we go.
No. Come on, it'll get better. We're not going to have a weirder pick than Preston picking his own wife.
Listen,
Okay?
that was easy. Layup right there, baby.
All right, I am going to take I'm going to go a completely different direction here. I'm going to take Lindsay Sue because Lindsay Sue, elite athlete, more than anyone on this list. So just like pure athletic ability, which I feel, physical strength, speed, all of those things you'd want just to win, physically against a serial killer. Sue also, I think more than anyone I know, has watched a lot of horror movies, so I think that kind of expertise will come into play here. Just, field awareness, you know what I mean? Awareness of opponent's likely strategy.
Right.
All going to come into play. And so I would have taken Sue number one overall, personally. But I'm also not married to Lauren.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's a great pick. I think, Sue is living in the film room, crushing tape, really knows how to read the defense in these types of situations. When we lived together back in DC, Sue would come back from a horror movie and I would be kind of drunk and they would just describe it to me over the course of 10 minutes. That's how I consumed most of my horror content for a good chunk of time. So I think that's a phenomenal pick.
Thank you.
For my first pick here, I'm also going from the Team Multiworld list, but I'm going to go Charlie first overall.
Yeah.
Much like Preston said, you want someone who is used to managing chaos, used to keeping cool in a heated situation, and quite frankly, someone who's going to have the gumption to make a choice that benefits the many over the few, unfortunate. You know what I mean? Like, if it's a question
Can you
of
name specific
having
times where
5
Charlie has maybe
survive,
done that? Maybe? Yeah.
it's a question of having 5 of the 6 survive. I think that Charlie will sleep well at night, head
Yeah.
just still on the pillow.
Wouldn't even hesitate. Would not even hesitate. Yeah.
So for being a person who is just totally cool in all kinds of chaotic situations, someone who has had to like cook food for 30 people on a budget of $5, which is almost literally Christ-like. I'm going Charlie number one. It doesn't mean everyone's going to survive on the team, but I think it means that we have a good shot at getting most people through.
Yeah, as someone who's been professionally reprimanded by Charlie, I can speak to his ability to really set clear boundaries for people. So I think that's a good pick.
Like the boundaries between life and death.
Yeah, it's a fantastic pick. I in my opinion, Sue and Charlie are the top two. Charlie also a great athlete, very fast and very strong as well. So when it comes like the physical needs,
he literally has that shirt that says "Power Athlete."
Yep, he's a power athlete
on purpose.
Yeah,
I think just by virtue of the shirt, he is the power athlete.
Right, and I feel like his niche on Drafted is he's like the food guy. And it'll be good. It'll be good to have that sort of potential survival expertise. I know we're not doing like zombie apocalypse. We're doing horror movie type situation, but even in that, you could be like in a cabin for a while somewhere. You have to, I feel like some of the ways that people die in these movies is they're like, oh my god, like I guess I'm gonna eat these mushrooms because we're hungry and we're stuck out here in the woods or whatever. No, Charlie's gonna know what's up. On a similar vein, I'm gonna take my second pick here, Kelsey Hayden, who I know has a lot of like outdoors experience. Or maybe just wears a lot of Patagonia. Maybe I don't know, but
it's one of the two. She's either putting on the best possible front, or she has actual outdoor experience.
Right. I mean, she's Canadian, so she's already she's seen some stuff. There's just polar bears and moose up there.
A lot of dead seals. And
that's true. She clubs seals for a living, if I recall some of her previous appearances.
Pretty sure that's right. Only the babies, though.
Only the babies, right? Yeah, right. So she's got what it takes, and I just think she has like a cool, calm disposition, which is really in these movies. It's people who panic is what you really got to avoid, and I feel like I have two rock solid people on my roster,
non-panickers. Yeah, I think Kelsey's got a little bit of killer in her too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like comes to fight or flight, I have no doubt that Kelsey Hayden is a fighter.
Right. She does have a certain like stillness to her, like a certain like confidence of like just knowing that ultimately at the end of the day she would kill you if she needed to.
It would be quick though.
So that's what I want.
That aura. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not so sure. But yeah, I think there's an aura. There's a little aura of that underneath every interaction you have with Kelsey.
That I'm thankful to have gotten out of that conversation alive.
Yeah, alive. Yeah, exactly right. Okay. Well, this is tough. I feel like Pat has gone real. Just he maximized his picks. There's the chess. There's like the rating of every chess move. Pat just went optimal.
Yeah,
I think. Which is not what you want to see as a competitor to him. I am going to go. Now this is not someone that I would have taken in this spot even a year ago. I don't think. It really depends on when he decided to join the Fire Academy, and that is Tad Whistle.
Well, if it makes you feel better off the start here, Dan, I was going to take Tad next. So,
okay, Tad. I mean, listen. I feel like the skill set and training of a firefighter extremely valuable in a horror movie situation. I mean, you're literally taught how to combat death and combat the death of others. So that seems pretty good. You have to be in very good physical shape to do this. And Tad is just such a crazy person and a source of tremendous comedic relief that I think they're keeping him around pretty late into the movie. I could see Tad maybe being like a sacrificial type character. He dies to save someone else. But I think he lasts a long time in the movie at least. And at this point, the longer you're in the movie still, the higher chance you are at still surviving.
I feel like Tad could also maybe just like talk the killer out of it.
True.
Or he's the character that
Kind of
makes
like-
the slasher start running instead of chasing.
Yeah. I mean, I could see Tad like, he like, bargaining with the killer before the killer brutally kills him. He's like, please just let me listen to that obscure early 2000s, like alt rock band that I liked so much. And the killer's like, wait a minute, you like Rat Fuck? and then they bond over it, and he ends up letting Tad go.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair pick. I think that Tad also, for people who don't know, has a history of surviving some tough circumstances, particularly like waking up the morning after Mars or other party tournaments like that, and needing to just scrounge around him and be like, okay, what I have is half a thing of Pedialyte, one cleat, and some matchsticks.
Finding his way home in Miami, just barely conscious. And remembering the Airbnb that he had barely stepped into, remembering where it was,
the hotel room,
with a dead cell.
He's a survivor.
Getting to the right room. Admittedly, didn't have a key, so he was just slumped up against the front door.
But he made it
when we found him. But he made it.
Yep,
he survived.
Still here.
He peed down that elevator shaft.
God damn it! 19 floors of Tad urine.
All right, Preston. You got back-to-back selections.
I feel bad here because I really wanted Tad. My justification was going to be I needed somebody who was the polar opposite of Lauren, and I can't imagine two sides of the same coin than those two, honestly. So I'm struggling a little bit with what I want to do here, but I'm going to take somebody who I think is resourceful.
Wait, hey, hang on. Before we go, I'm going to stall for you here. Did you guys hear that it's not 50-50 to flip a coin?
The fuck are you talking about?
What?
This was recently there. I think it was like some researcher in the UK or something recently did a study, and it's not 50-50. It is 50-50 that it will land on heads or tails, but there is a slight more likelihood that it will land on the side that it was facing when you started the flip. And it was like 50. It was like 51-49. I don't know.
Why? What in the physics of that make it so? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Are the people in this study just bad at
I don't
flipping
think
coins? They're
dug that
just
deep.
like chucking it up in the sky.
Okay. This is the thing. He like the research included people from like all continents, all over the world, to like avoid any kind of like flipping bias or anything like that. And it's slightly more likely to flip on the same side.
Did he account for the people in Australia flipping it upside down? Okay,
I think
that was
so.
a dumb joke. We can move on. All right. I'm taking somebody who I believe to be very resourceful here, very outdoorsy.
Yeah,
has thrived in a lot of different circumstances, and I hope she's cool with me saying all that because we haven't talked in quite some time. I'm going to take Katie Gear Reynolds here.
Okay, this is a good pick. I was gonna between her and Tad with my last pick. So I think this is the right spot for Katie to go for sure. Yeah, Katie's a grinder. You know what I mean? She is a grinder through and through.
Yeah. And
no matter how high the odds are stacked against her, she's just going to keep grinding away. And that's exactly what you want for a horror movie.
And I'll say this: I just saw the Taylor Swift Eras concert tour movie with Katie a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she, it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes or whatever movie. And despite like absolutely crushing a Red Bull beforehand, she only went to the bathroom like
nice.
through the whole thing. I went like 3 times.
Valuable skill.
You know, so she's definitely a grinder. She's for sure a grinder.
Love that.
Yeah,
that's not research I had done.
We just saw Killers of the Flower Moon together, which is like 3+ hours, zero bathroom trips. She just went through. She went through the whole thing, which is crazy.
Is that movie good, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Like how good? Scale of 1 to 10.
9.
Okay. Wow. A Patrick 9.
Yeah.
I've only ever heard of Patrick 10, I believe, on Graduation by Kanye, which I don't think that aged super well. Pat, you should reconsider that. I'm just making... okay, he's giving me this look. I should disclose I'm just making shit up, listeners. Pat has way more to say about it than I'm going to allow him time for.
Oh! Wait, so have you just made this up, or did he actually give a Patrick 10 to
all I remember is on a road trip, Pat taking an hour to connect Kanye albums to Quentin Tarantino films. He just matched them up. And I seem to remember him saying he liked Graduation. I think I just pulled that out of like a memory of 11 years ago.
That's the most Pat thing I've ever heard in my life.
And then he made fun of me for ordering queso at a restaurant, which was bullshit, by the way. Such shit.
I didn't make fun of you for ordering queso. I made fun of you for the way you like looked at the menu, put it down, very like senatorially looked up at the waiter and said, "Do you have queso?"
Well, listen, I don't understand why it was such a bad thing. I didn't see it on the menu, but I was like, we're at a Tex-Mex place. Surely they have it, right? And they didn't have it, which is also made me look significantly worse. It was crazy. Chicago, and those people suck. So that's why.
You heard it here first.
I also asked for a sweet tea, and they also gave me a dirty look. And I was like, where am I? Am I in Europe or something? No, this is
Chicago.
America. You're supposed to have queso and sweet tea. Fuck out of here.
And Preston's Constitution, the First and Second Amendments are...
Yep.
You must have queso, and you must have sweet tea.
Mm-hmm. It's a much more practical Second Amendment than the current iteration.
Damn.
All right.
That's a low bar to clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay, for my next pick here, I'm taking research over potential experience here. I want somebody who knows their stuff about slasher horror films.
Sure.
So I'm going to take John Wolfe.
Okay.
I don't really need John to do anything in particular. I need him to sort of tell us what has happened previously in the situations that we're in. Like, oh, this is one of those chainsaw types. Here's how we beat that guy. You know what I mean?
And then he dies mid-telling of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's fine. As long as he gets the important bits out. He does, I will say, also he has a calmness about him that I think will come in handy. He seems like he'd be fine following the directions from somebody more capable.
Yeah, I've known John since college, and I'm really having a hard time picturing him in a horror movie situation. Of the people on this show I've known that have ever been undrafted, including you, Preston. I've known him the longest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm really just not getting a good grasp on how he would be. I really don't know. I really just don't know. Pat, you know John the least probably, but do you have any kind of read on this?
No, 0%.
Perfect.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Dan, what do you
got? He's very goofy, John, and I think he's kind of going for that what I covered with Tad, which is like you keep the funny guy around for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem with John, I don't think he has that killer instinct, I think push comes to shove, he just doesn't have that killer instinct. I think
that's fine. We're gonna end up with too much of that, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Somebody's gonna have to die. Sorry, John.
Okay. What do I do here with my third pick? I think in that vein, I'm going to go with John's co-host on the Everyone's a Real Critic pod, Jose Garcia Chow, who I think is the more horror movie inclined of the two of them. So I think he's going to have a little bit more of that book smarts when it comes to surviving a horror movie. Also, Jose, a bartender in I can't remember Chicago or New York City, but one of those two big cities. And I feel like if you're a bartender in a big city like that, you've seen some shit that you have
some
survived.
slashers have come into your very bar.
Yeah. And I just feel like gritty barkeeper type is even kind of a stereotype. I feel like in a lot of these, like a character archetype. And I feel like Jose has got a real good shot at making it all the way through to the end.
I'm upset about this because this is one of the few people who I don't actually know who I felt qualified to say something about taking. Which, just to take a step back here, this is like the most rigged against the guest draft you guys have ever done, because I know like a quarter of these people.
It's very meta.
Yeah.
It's a very meta draft.
I will say this.
Can you blame
I
us
was
now?
like internet stalking some of the other people to try to dig up some nuggets for this.
I love that.
And I will say that on Jose's LinkedIn page, graduate of University of Central Florida with experience in leading and managing teams, increasing productivity and efficiency, and creative writing. Highly adaptable.
Wow. Hey, Jose, I gotta be honest, that sounds like some absolute bullshit.
Highly adaptable.
Highly adaptable is something you are looking for here, so yeah. I'll give him props for that.
I don't think I can't think of a better characteristic than being highly adaptable for the situation, you know? Thank you, Pat. I love that. Jose, if he listens to this episode, will probably be pretty creeped out by that. But,
yeah. When does that approach doxing territory, guys? It says here that Jose lives at this address, which is in a very crucial location.
Look, if he's as adaptable as he says he is, he'll roll with the punches.
Then he'll manage. That's true.
He also drafted Roadhouse in the 80s movie Airplane Draft, which was super cool.
Yeah.
So
he clearly knows how to kick.
He knows how to. Right, he knows that pain don't hurt.
Exactly.
All right, I'm next, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give us one pick, Pat, and then we will take our halftime breather before coming back for the start of the fourth round.
Well, it was going to be Jose.
I am deeply sorry about that. What I should have done was I should have just Pat, you just tell me your 6 picks ahead of time, and then we'll draft around those to throw you a bone. And thank you for doing this draft for us.
Pat is also highly adaptable. Figure it out.
No. I've got someone else here on the board. Someone who I know a little more intimately.
Whoa!
I'm
tell.
excited about this.
Yeah, I figured.
I'm going to draft
really
because I think of all the people I know, you are one of the people who is most immune to peer pressure.
Ooh.
You are someone who just if other people try to get you to do shit you don't want to do, you're like, nope. You can fuck
that's
right off.
True, actually, Pat does that firsthand.
And I feel like, I've been on the other end of that many, many times. And I feel like the person in the horror movie who's like, Daniel, we're going to go down to the old rusty chainsaw factory and blindfold ourselves and walk around.
This is genius. So you're saying I survived we all keep doing the horror movie by just not going to where
not
the horror
participating,
is happening, basically. Yeah.
By just being totally immune to peer pressure.
That is a very good argument.
Honestly,
makes a lot of sense.
It's honestly genius. It's like it's not quite the same, but in Get Out, Lil Ray, is that his name? Like that character, just he just isn't involved at all. So he makes it to the end, and then at the end of the day, comes and saves Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he's like the first one to know that some shit's up.
Something's fucking wrong. Yeah. I have to say, I thought I would be a bad pick for this draft, but the way Pat is thinking about it, I think it's a brilliant pick.
Although Pat, the alternative here is Daniel does that. So 6 characters here. 5 of them are like, hey, I know this Museum of Wax Sculptures is closed. Let's just break in and hang out for the night. And Daniel's like, absolutely not. You guys are crazy. I'm staying glued right out here. Then he's alone. And he's the first person in the movie to be alone.
Yeah, but basically, I'm not even in the movie.
So you're just not in the film.
I survived because I'm in like the opening scene where everyone like leaves. I'm like
right.
I'm the like the creepy gas station guy who's like, don't drive down that road at night. That guy never dies.
Don't
dies.
see many folks
right?
like you come around here too often.
That guy survives long enough to tell people over and over again, don't go to
he knows. He's learned his lesson.
Exactly. I love that pick, Pat. It's honestly, and it's not just because it's me. It's one of my favorite picks in the history of this.
You're probably a little biased, if we're being honest.
It is,
in fact, you.
I love the pick. That does bring us to the halfway point of the drafted folks to survive a horror movie draft. These are the teams so far. Preston has 1 Mrs. Lauren Thompson, Katie Gear, and John Wolfe. I have Lindsay Sue, Tad Whistle, and Jose Garcia Chow. And Pat has Charlie Eisenhood, Kelsey Hayden, and me? We'll take a quick breather and be right back with the second half of the draft. Okay, we are back for the second half of the draft. Pat, you are up with the first pick of the 4th round.
Quick moment of reflection. Surveying the board as it currently exists. None of the 5 friggin' nerds have been drafted yet.
Yeah.
Not an accident. Not an accident. Just wanted maybe there's some statistically
hidden...
one of them will have to be taken, right? At least.
I mean, just maybe there's some hidden value in there. I have trouble differentiating them. I sort of view them as kind of one endearingly, regionally inspecific entity that usually does like a A- B+ appearance on the show.
Wow. Shots fired, although A-. I
mean, that's good. That's like good.
Means they're the best of the 3 on the show at that time. So yeah, sure.
True. Very true.
Also, if I could just hijack the proceedings real quick for a brief mini draft. M&M like filling varieties. Mini draft. Go. Preston. First.
Peanuts, as I think everybody's very well aware that peanut M&Ms are even better than original M&Ms.
Do you guys remember the crispy M&Ms?
Yeah. Those were good.
I'm taking those next.
Nice.
I don't know if they still exist. I really like those a lot.
They're solid.
I just had a little bag of the pretzel ones.
The pretzel ones are good too.
I'm not going to take them. I found them.
Oh, really?
They're too big. They are
pretty big.
They're like weird and bulbous. The ratio is off.
They are pretty big. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna go with.
I fucking love pretzels. So.
I mean, me too. I normally love a pretzel and chocolate combo, so I was a little disappointed after trying them for the first time, which is what brought this to mind. I'm gonna go with the. It's the purple bag. It's like the double fudge ones or whatever.
Ooh, yeah.
These seem like they're maybe too high class for me. I don't know that I've had these.
You don't. You're
They're
right.
fancy boy M&Ms.
You don't deserve those fancy.
We don't get them outside of
Double
New
fudge?
York City.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. For
excellent mini draft though.
yeah, just was top of mind. All right. For my 4th pick here, I am going to take someone I've never met, only ever listened to their voice on this podcast, but someone who I did a non-zero amount of internet stalking on. So I'm going to draft Hans Appen.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Por qué? Tell me why.
Well, if he had the wisdom to give you guys a show,
Wow, that's kind.
he must, he did me a big solid by allowing this show to exist. I appreciate that. Just from some small amount of internet stalking, it seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. And
definitely one of the more internet stalkable people too, without it being creepy, which is a great call by you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I want to say this. Hans currently sits on the board of directors of, and then it lists out a bunch of things, YMCA, a Georgia Ensemble Theater, the Alpharetta Chamber of Commerce, the North Fulton Alliance of Young Professionals, the City of Alpharetta Board of Zoning Appeals.
Actually, that was bullshit. He made that one up. But go ahead.
Is that true?
No.
I'm just saying.
It's real.
Also, zoning.
Damn, we're throwing him under the bus.
Dude, if this guy's got the hookup on zoning,
oh, you want
the
him.
hookup on all these things, you want this guy.
He could just zone the killer out of the movie entirely.
Right, exactly. Red tape. Sorry, dog.
Hit him with the red tape.
Reroute the buses, you know, so the killer doesn't even come around.
Right, exactly. It's the bus killer, and he's always like on the back of the bus creepily, and he shows up or whatever, and it's like, nope, sorry, buses are out here.
Got shut down by Hans Appen.
So I want a man who's a titan of behind the scenes influence. So I'm taking media mogul Hans Appen.
I love this pick. I love the reasoning behind the pick. And I love Hans, because, Hans does so much to enable our show. So I'm not going to surprise his pick in the slightest.
Genuinely good guy. Constantly has to make difficult decisions. Him and I have had it out more than a few times, but is a good guy.
Ooh.
I like that you're describing him the way Joe Biden describes Mitch McConnell.
Well, that's listen. You're getting the right vibe there. I'm just kidding, Hans. He quite literally for like a lot of where I live, he knows where the bodies are buried, quite literally. So he's a good guy to have around, I would say. It would not surprise me though if he was the villain in the slasher horror franchise.
Really?
I do think you need to be a little wary of his leanings. So just keep an eye on him.
He also for Hans, he's a dad, so he's got dad strength, which I think would be a useful tool.
I think
if for some reason the whole rezoning the bus routes
doesn't work out.
But I don't.
It's an interesting
can't
plan.
Really see that failing.
Yeah, it's an interesting plan.
Gosh, I don't know what to do here anymore. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take... I want to take Pat, but I worry that teaming him up with Tad brings out the worst in the both of them.
The four other people on your team are going to die quicker than usual.
Yeah. That's my worry. I think both are good picks individually, but I think the two of them on the same team could lead to some trouble.
Counterpoint. When have you ever had a bad time with Tad and I?
Well.
Listen, I've had more than a few.
Fair counterpoint. Counterpoint.
Yeah, my counterpoint is all of the Smirnoff Ices that would have stayed undrunken.
We would ice the killer into oblivion. The killer would keep opening up closets to try to stab us, and he'd just keep getting ices.
That's good, actually.
Fucking got him.
No, has anyone tried that in a horror movie? Just icing the killer?
I think it could
so
work.
Sometimes they can't kill you.
Could work.
I think it could too. I could see it working. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take one of the friggin' nerds. I'm gonna take friggin' nerd James here. I think of all the friggin' nerds, I think James is the most calm, cool, collected, most willing to kind of survey the situation and figure out what the best move is. And so, for that reason, I think he's the best friggin' nerd to take.
I'm going to hard disagree here because he said he
Really?
really enjoyed the Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie, and I think that is the worst possible indictment that a human being could have against them. So,
Wow.
I just can't trust somebody's judgment after those kinds of comments.
Jeez.
And
That's harsh.
I'll leave it at that. He can get at me in the comments. The comments of a podcast, which everybody knows where those are.
Well, we are on YouTube. You can do
The Discord, yeah. Or the Discord, yeah.
Yeah.
DM me,
I know,
James.
we
We'll
have
it out.
We have one YouTube listener who I know makes a comment on every single YouTube
We
episode.
love that dedication.
We do.
Love it.
We do.
Can they be entered into the draft pool?
I love this person. I don't think they'd be a good pick for this draft, so I don't think you'd want them anyway.
Okay. Well, I've said my piece about James.
It is your pick now, though, so you got to come up with something.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to take Pat here, which I actually think is a steal.
Yeah.
Pat, as we all know, is now a nationally recognized athlete.
It's true.
For whatever that's worth.
Congratulations, Pat.
It's basically the Olympics, if you think about it. It's basically the
can't take it
Olympics,
away from
as he absolutely downs a hotel bottle of Smirnoff or whatever the hell that is. Listen. Pat can be a little unhinged, but I feel like I've built a solid core around him to where he's going to keep it together, and we'll just have his raw strength, agility, and wit to will us through to the end of the film.
This is the thing about Pat, and I mean this in the nicest possible way.
Okay, before you say this, you do realize he's here, right? He's still on the call. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean this in the nicest possible way.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a little bit of psychopath in Pat. There's a little bit. Would you disagree, Pat? Would you contest this point?
Keep in mind, you are being recorded.
He's
just staring.
Right now.
He's staring in a way that makes me feel like I should have never been born.
Look, I mean, I don't know how to answer that.
Listen. I love
Yes.
you. I love you.
Yeah,
Pat. But there's a little bit. Yeah, as Preston said, unhinged. I think Pat would go to concerning levels to keep himself alive.
Yeah.
If that makes
He would
sense.
be the first one to suggest that cannibalism is not off the table.
Yeah, or like, yeah. I don't want to go too deep into what I think Pat is capable of.
Look, we already have gotten into Preston's marriage. Like, let's do it.
I think Pat would be the first person that would be like, you know what? Instead of sitting around here waiting for him to get us, let's go fucking kill him first. That would be Pat. And he'd have this crazed look in his eye and be like, whoa, buddy. We don't even know what's happening yet. We just know one of our friends is like, not
they
here
haven't
right
come
now.
back in a few minutes.
That would be Pat. And I'm saying this as a positive. I think that makes Pat a really good pick. I maintain that I think him and Tad together would not be a great pair. I think it would make both themselves and the team's survival less likely. But him as an individual, I think is a fantastic pick.
I think I'm absolutely dying in a horror movie. I just want to be clear about that.
I think we probably all think this about ourselves, but I think you'd have a good shot.
I do think you in your death maim the killer in a way that becomes very helpful later.
Yeah. If you do die, you definitely mortally
You're
wound.
taking a limb with you.
You're the reason everyone else lives,
Yeah.
for sure.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I mean, I'm still dead, I guess, but I appreciate
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Listen,
sentiment.
you know,
I do feel like I could commit to the bit of sacrificing myself, to the point where I would actually would it be super funny if I strapped this bomb to my chest and
just
hugged
waited.
the psychopath and just waited.
It would be super funny, Pat. You're right.
Yeah.
yours would be like
I like
Did
the
you guys
pick.
ever see Freddy vs. Jason? They come up with a plan to basically go back to where Jason grew up. And that's they're basically baiting him. Pat would be the one to come up with that plan. Be like, guys, I found out where the killer went to high school, and we're gonna go stand in the gym and we're gonna wait. We're gonna hide under the floorboards.
I do feel like I would want to force a confrontation.
Yeah.
I'd get a little too antsy,
Yeah.
just like
Hiding?
waiting it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Good pick,
Thanks.
Preston. Who you got next?
I have no idea, so give me a second here. If I'm thinking of this like like an Overwatch build, which I know nobody plays that game anymore, but it's still how I conceive this, where you got your tanks, you got your attack. I need my support characters. My ones that are going to make sure everybody's keeping up on their proteins and making sure they're looking on the brighter side. But also can get tough in just a second if duty calls. So I'm going to take friggin' Nerd Brit for that. I also think, weirdly, they've never met, but I think Brit and Lauren would make a really great dynamic duo. So I'm going to pair them up together. And I think they'd bond and lead the team to success.
I think Britt would make a really good dynamic duo with most people.
Yeah. That's
just kind of who
highly
Britt is.
adaptable, but not the most highly adaptable, because as we all know, that's somebody else on this list.
That's Jose.
Yes, thank you.
That's Jose.
But
I debated taking Britt as the first friggin' nerd over James. Also, just because I think Britt would just I feel like Britt would just be the kind of person that breaks just kind of go her way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, she just kind of looks her way into surviving. It's not like really anything that she does.
like she runs through a barn
somehow...
and the killer while chasing her steps on a rake and conks himself in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can put up
That's
with
just the
Mike
kind of vibe I get.
in a marriage, it shows an amount of resiliency.
Is Mike the new drafted rival?
No, I just like to throw pot shots at people whenever possible. Yeah.
Yeah. When they can't defend
Yeah,
themselves?
absolutely.
That's why I like you so much. All right. Oh, gosh. I'm just going to go pure horror movie awareness again here, because we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel a little bit. I think we're starting.
Can
to
I
get
say
to,
it's really gratifying to know that I am at the bottom of the barrel, because that's really excellent. Love that.
Hey, listen, you've had 5 chances to pick yourself. And
Really pick on the guy with the self-esteem problems. Okay, all right.
Well, just remember how I said I picked Daniel because he is the person who's least likely to succumb to peer pressure?
Yes. Guess which one I am? Yeah, I'm the guy who came up with the idea to go into the chainsaw factory blindfolded and spend the night because somebody dared me to. That was a Preston original.
Oh, no boy. So I'm gonna take Paige. Paige also loves a horror movie. If I'm being honest, I don't think Paige is living. But I think we're kind of getting to the point where I don't think anyone left is living really, and Paige is going to have the awareness to maybe, hopefully, eke out a victory here for me.
Right. At this point, you're drafting people that when they die, you hope they don't take anyone else down with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
They're on a solo mission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could 100% see Paige like going out on her own, trying to find an escape route, and then she's gonna come back to let the others know, but she never finds it. You know what I mean? All right, Pat, you've got 2 picks left, and not a whole lot of people left to choose from.
I'm suddenly wishing we had different guests on this show.
like Bear Grylls or something. Who's the best non-guest that you could pick for this?
So just of the universe of people.
Yeah, but
there's two groups of people: those who have been undrafted and those who have not.
And those who have not.
And you're saying
Correct.
of the people who have not been undrafted,
the
subset
nearly
of people.
7 billion people.
Yeah,
Whatever.
It's more
Whatever
than that
guy was in charge.
Isn't it nearly 8 billion people?
I guess.
No, hang on. We're pause. Hold this topic for the
Okay.
post-draft
Okay.
analysis.
I already
got
had
it.
some great, excellent ideas. So perfect. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I'm thinking team composition here.
Yeah,
At
as you
this point.
should. As you should.
And I think so with Charlie, I feel like I have the kind of like logistical, just like totally unfazed by insane bullshit happening all the time guy. I've got Kelsey, who is the like cool, confident, has like clubbed baby seals to death, so is just, like
Ruthless.
ready to roll with the punches.
All right, I should say Kelsey's expressed concern about the baby seal joke. We're going to clarify she's never done that.
Right.
She has not herself done that.
I think
I wanted to go on the
giving her
record saying
a
that
bit of
before.
grace here that I think is
They
undeserved.
they give them humane, lethal injections. They don't club them. Let's be on the record about that.
Yes, they've modernized it.
I've got Daniel, who is just, absolutely refusing to engage in the nonsense that is going to lead to this situation in the first place. Got Hans, who's like the big connection guy. So I feel like I have like a fairly like stable crew at this point.
You got a great core.
Great core. So I'm going for kind of a vibes pick here. Someone who's going to like keep things moving, keep things, a little light, and has the structure around them to hopefully not like horribly fuck everything up. And so I'm going to go with Keith Rayner, who I think has some downsides in that...
Lot of downsides, let's be honest.
A lot of downsides, let's be honest. Is a father now.
Ooh.
So at least has that, like, responsibility. Has a history of working with several people on my team before. So we already have some built-in teamwork there.
Good chemistry, yeah.
Good chemistry. And, let's not forget, has already survived a murder house situation with several people on our
Great
team.
point.
That time...
I had not thought of this.
When we had that Airbnb in Milwaukee where we got raided by Milwaukee SWAT or whatever because it turns out the Airbnb was probably being rented to us by a wanted murderer who had a trunk full of
Totems.
Like purses with
collectibles
items
from
in
victims
them.
is basically what we came to understand.
So we already
We've
had
never
some
told the story on the
It's
pod.
insane.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is an insane story.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Keith initially, the candy addiction is tough. I think Keith is someone who has a little bit of a like could get kind of like dared into doing something to an extent of like not even dared into doing something, but a little bit like a fuck me, fuck you, I'll show you type thing that could lead to some negative repercussions. But I think the chemistry working with Charlie and Prentice and Kelsey before is going to help a lot. And again, has already survived a literal murder house.
So quick
Keith.
follow-up question. Keith survived the murder house. Who was in charge of securing the murder house? Might that be somebody already on your team who showed poor judgment in maybe renting a house from a murderer?
But that's how we're getting into the movie in the first place.
So Charlie's the catalyst.
Yeah.
He is the
Right,
catalyst
but he also
for the murderous
then-
situation.
But then he was able to get us another Airbnb for like 30 people on a moment's notice. That was like a weird old halfway
And then
house.
cooked a great
and
dinner
cooked us
that
all.
night. So he was unrattled
pasta.
by the situation, I guess.
Unfazed.
Yeah.
Completely unfazed. I feel like we should tell this story quickly. Pat, Press, and I were all there. Ulti World has 2018 College Nationals in Milwaukee, and we had this like old, house in a seemingly normal neighborhood. The weird things about the house were that like the light in the kitchen leaked water when anyone took a shower.
The light that was on, the electrical
there was
wiring leaked water.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Yeah. There was a padlock to the basement, which is like usually like that's like fairly common for an Airbnb. It's like, you people don't go in this space, but it's like a little ominous. And then there was like a single chest that had like 5 purses in it or something, each one of which had exactly one item in it, which is like kind of weird. And so we'd all kind of been making jokes about it being a murder house.
There were a couple doors to rooms
others?
that were not in the basement that were zip tied shut.
Ooh,
I don't remember
zip
that.
ties?
I don't remember there being
Zip ties.
I don't remember there being zip tied zip tied rooms. But so we're like the bulk of us are leaving the house to go to the fields to do our reporting for the day. I think it's like day 2 or day 3. And we all kind of step outside and like, holy shit, there's a lot of cop cars in the neighborhood today.
Something must be going on.
A lot of
There's a whole lot of cop cars. And then we're like, oh shit, there's a lot of cops in the neighborhood today. Oh fuck, they're all walking at us, and they're all wearing bulletproof vests that have their
like
hands on their
infiltration
guns. Yeah. It like was. I don't think it was like full SWAT team, but it was definitely like the armor, like the arms unit, of the homicide department for the whatever, like Deer Lake or whatever town we were in, like suburb of Milwaukee that we were in. And they were like, who are you? Why are you at this house? And we tried to, like, they didn't know what Airbnb was somehow. They're like, we don't live here. We're renting the house through this website called Airbnb. And they, like, made us stay there while they patrol. Like, they went inside the house and looked around the backyard. And yeah, I guess whoever was renting out our Airbnb was a suspect for a murder case.
And if you'll remember
so
correctly,
that was pretty cool.
They asked us to basically like, so once they were like, you guys are not the murderers. They were like, okay, so can you guys like stay here and like when he comes back,
tell him like something's broken,
like
he'll come back and fix it.
Just like keep him here for like half an hour. Like, just keep him talking.
They wanted to set up some sort of situation.
I remember us being like, "Is it safe to stay here?" And they're like, "No, you should probably go somewhere else."
And then Charlie had to argue with Airbnb to get his money back. He was like, "Guys."
Well, I don't think they gave him his money back, but like they moved us for free to like a bigger house.
I want to read the review that Charlie left on that place because I'm sure it was scathing.
Yeah, very interesting. The only part that was like kind of freaky was we did all have to go back, like after working that day to like get our stuff and move out.
Right.
And we were all just like, at any point this guy and you guys hadn't been there, but I had been there since D3, so I was there for like the week leading up to it, with just Charlie, Keith, and Aiden. I think just the four of us. And when we first got there, the Wi-Fi wasn't working. So I don't know if it was the guy who like was the owner of the property or the guy who was the caretaker came to the house to like deal with the internet situation.
Boy, are we lucky to have you here.
Yeah.
I think this goes to show that Daniel can clearly survive a slasher film. He was already part of one.
I guess so. Yeah, so that's the if you ever heard tell or heard whispers of the Ulti-World Murder House, that's the abridged story. Pat, you've got one last pick. How are you running out this team of characters to survive a horror movie?
Well, despite that long period of stalling there that we just went through, I still got nothing. For my last pick here, I am going to go with Tim Linnefelt because who did, I forget which episode it was. Was he the Smash Bros. Guy? Or was he the music festival guy?
Tim was the music festival, yeah.
He was the music festival guy. Yeah. The reason I'm taking him is because after hastily Googling his name, I saw that he's like the director of communications for Florida State Parks.
Ooh, it's a cool job.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I did not know
this
that.
This is a great service that Pat is providing for us.
Yeah. When we had Tim on, he had the reason I know Tim is because he for a long time worked for Seminoles.com as like a reporter for the Florida State owned Florida State Sports website. So that's cool. That's a cool change of gig for him.
Yeah.
He's a big music guy.
Big music guy. Really, the reason I would pick him though is because if he's the director of comms, he's used to just like dealing with people's bullshit all day and knowing how to sniff out. Like,
no,
I don't buy that. So. That doesn't sound right. So during the point in the movie where the killer like puts some message of like, oh, it's actually safe to go outside now. Like we can actually, go do this thing or whatever. I feel like if you're working in comms, you just have to have like a pretty attuned bullshit detector.
Sixth Sense.
A Sixth Sense for that. So, it's a last pick. I Googled 3 people's names, and this is the person whose job seemed most applicable. So yeah, welcome aboard, Tim. Hope you make it.
All right. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think Tim would get picked just because I feel like people don't remember Tim. He only came on one episode in season 1, like very early in the drafted timeline. So I wasn't sure he would have his supporters. You know what I mean? This is tough. This is really tough. There's just absolutely no one on this board that I want on my team in the slightest.
I knew this was going to happen, and it's still so bad. It still just hurts so much.
Preston, the problem with picking you is like
listen, shut up.
I don't
Shut
think
up.
there's anything that you would
Shut
do
up.
wrong.
Shut up.
You would just you would just unluck your way into dying very early. You know what I mean? It's like it would be completely out of your control. But
It wouldn't even be the killer. It would be like
Listen, I don't
a
wanna
bunch
hear
of
it.
bees.
I don't
want to
hear it. Just do what you were going to do.
All right. Okay. Well, I feel like the best pick is Tom Lang, but I don't want to take Tom Lang because no one doesn't see Tom Lang on my list and be like, oh yeah, that's the right pick, because no one remembers Tom because he also was like very, very early season 1. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna take friggin' nerd Lee. I'm gonna go back to the friggin' nerd's well. And Preston kind of alluded to this when he took Britt, which is that if she can deal with Mike on a daily basis, then she can handle anything. But that's extra true of Lee, in my opinion, because she's married to Mario. So if she can survive that, then I think she can survive literally anything. She's a little Spitfire, Lee.
Doesn't that just tell you that she has bad judgment? Isn't that the main takeaway?
No. Because I think Lee has the foresight to see, like, hey, things, especially with the way the world is right now, things could go wrong real quick. And so I think there's a factor in that decision that she is choosing to kind of stay on top of her game. It's like getting a gym membership, right? But for
So her marriage
bad
is
situations.
training for dealing with awful people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Well,
exactly right.
Sorry, Mario. But your life is a sham.
Do you buy that? Are you willing to buy that?
I think it could be some sort of like a The Americans type situation, but if neither of them knew that each other were spies, it could be that both of them are, living a lie.
I feel like the rivalry is going to be back on with Mario.
Who's the most likely drafted guest to be an actual secret agent that wasn't allowed to tell us?
Pat.
I don't know. Pat has like an actual job though. It's like too specific of an alibi. And all the Frisbee shit, is that his cover for traveling? His team would be able to know when he just didn't show up. So, I don't know. That seems like a very elaborate alibi to try and keep up.
Okay, you know who it actually is? It's Jose.
The bartender?
Yeah. A bartender in either New York or Chicago.
Nobody's quite sure.
Yeah.
Highly adaptable.
Highly adaptable.
Clearly fake LinkedIn page.
Right. Obviously. It's obviously bullshit.
Yeah. All right, Preston. It's the final pick, and you've been giving us a lot of grief here, but, you can
listen,
anywhere
you guys have put me in an impossible situation here, because there's nothing worse than not being picked, with the exception of having to pick yourself.
Yeah.
I do think with team composition, you could do well on
Pat,
this team.
Yeah, you and
Pat
are
has
great together.
previewed what I'm going to say here, which is I'm taking myself, but here's why.
Attaboy. Yeah.
At a certain point in the movie, hope will be lost unless somebody has a complete breakdown and picks up the axe themselves and goes on the offensive. And when I die, that will be Lauren. She will go overdrive, and she will murder everybody in her way. So I will be the catalyst for our success, but no, I will not make it.
Mm-hmm. This is such...
That's actually great
This
reasoning.
is such a good pick by this reasoning. It really is. It really is. What Preston basically is saying is the earlier he dies, the better his team does.
That's absolutely right.
Which is some incredible draft judo after he got us both to just admit, like, Preston, you're going to die by accident 5 minutes into this thing by plugging a toaster in. And
Turns out that was my plan the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, this is actually genius. And the fact that you get yourself with the last pick, you don't have to expend any value elsewhere.
Nope.
I don't know what to say. It's brilliant draftsmanship.
Wow. Well, makes me feel a little bit better about being completely overlooked by some of my closest friends.
Not overlooked. Let's be clear.
Undervalued.
Very intentionally did not pick you.
Yeah, it was not overlooked. It was a very intentional maneuver.
Yeah, there was no like, oh shoot, I didn't see you there, Preston. There was none of that.
Oh no, yeah, it's a good point. Good point.
I think it's a brilliant pick. I don't think you work on either my or Pat's teams, but I do think you work very well.
Yeah, because when I die on your or Pat's teams, people are going to be like, oh, man, well...
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, keep going, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, they will doubt whether or not the slasher exists. Be like, well, Preston hasn't come back yet from his trip to the store, but he probably just got lost.
I mean, no one made himself put his own head in the wood chipper. You know, that was his own clumsiness that did that.
He said he wanted to see what's up there, and well, he did. So,
oh god. All right, that is the final pick of the drafted folks to survive a horror movie. These are the teams. Preston ends up with his own wife, Lauren, Katie Gear, John Wolfe, Patrick Stegemoeller, Britt from the Friggin' Nerds, and himself. I have Lindsay Sue, Tad Whistle, Jose Garcia Chow, Friggin' Nerd James, Page 6 in Friggin' Nerd Lee, and then Pat has Charlie Eisenhood, Kelsey Hayden, myself, Hans Appen, Keith Rayner, and Tim Linnefelt. Of course, we have so much more to break down after one last quick break. Okay, I'm not going to do the usual first question, which is, who would you have picked if you had more spots? Because, boy, were we really scraping the barrel with...
There were a couple people that didn't get picked, and...
There were a couple.
I can't imagine what that feels like, and that's why I
bad and
intentionally...
you should feel bad.
Yeah, I intentionally avoided that situation for myself, so I can't imagine what it was
if you didn't get picked, you need to institute some real substantial changes in your life. Let this be a wake-up call.
Here's the thing about not getting picked, though. They kind of have it the best of all of us, because they don't have to be in a horror movie.
They get to watch, yeah.
They just get to live their normal lives.
Yeah.
Although some of them have significant others that got picked,
I want Mike and Mario to go on the record saying that they would be more capable than their own wives. I just can't imagine either of them thinking that's actually true.
Either of them might say it, but neither of them believes it.
Yep. Totally.
You know what would have been an interesting wrinkle is whoever goes unpicked then becomes the killer or killers.
Ooh.
And how would that have changed the draft?
Definitely a huge advantage to leave me unpicked then. I'm not incredibly capable. Wouldn't be good on either side.
Well, I think you really maximized your value, Preston, I have to say.
Thank you.
But I did ask during the show, and then immediately slammed the brakes on it to hold it for this part of the show. Who's the best pick of people who have not yet been undrafted? Not yet.
So just of all humans that have not been undrafted, alive or dead, or just not yet. So still alive or maybe
just alive. Yeah. There's got to be a chance they might come on the show in the future.
So who is the person other than the 20-something people who have been undrafted who is best equipped to survive a horror movie situation?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
The Rock comes to mind.
Yeah.
Has he ever died in a movie? Probably not, right?
I think he's contractually not allowed to.
Yeah, I probably think that's true.
Okay, I got one. The
Sure.
movie that the person that 127 Hours is based on.
Oh,
Okay.
That guy's
Aaron's
willing to do
whatever.
whatever it takes.
so that's really good.
And
But he also
answer.
only has one arm left.
boy, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. I also want the guy who rescued the Chilean miners from the hole.
Was that one guy?
The
who did
guy?
that? I thought that was like a team of people.
Team leader, then. Whoever that guy was.
Are you saying that's like the defining crisis of our time?
The Chilean miners?
The Chilean miners?
I think the Thai cave. I think the Thai cave kids.
The Thai cave kids.
Like,
Yeah.
if we're power ranking like extraction from natural disaster cave situations.
Haven't like an inordinate amount of people who are connected to that ordeal died?
Oh, really? That's sad.
That
man. Why
sounds
would you
like
say
something that you would see on like the title of a YouTube video. It'd be like, nope,
that? Nope. Not looking at that.
not looking at that.
I feel like there's been like a weird number of people who are like connected to that, whether it was like the kids themselves, the coaches,
It's like
or the
Glee.
So you,
rescuers.
so you,
everybody
you
that was
think
on
that there
Glee
was
died.
some sort of like buried treasure component that we haven't heard about yet, and now there's like a
And
Tom
they all
team,
were cursed.
and like
Yeah.
some of them are getting bumped off.
Yeah.
What about the guy from Free
exactly what I'm
Solo?
saying.
The guy who just
Alex Honnold?
Yeah, climbs rocks with his bare hands.
No. I mean, I guess he could just climb real high. and
I
wait
mean,
out the killer,
honestly,
maybe.
useful in a lot
Climbing?
of these things.
Climbing is good.
Like, probably not great for the team vibes, but in terms
Yeah.
of just individual survival, it'd be probably pretty good.
Ooh,
I said Bear
I want-
Grylls.
I
Bear
want-
Grylls has been proven to survive anything.
Bear Grylls is good. I want Sean Bean so that we can guarantee who's going to die first. And we can all just sort of relax.
So you buy the rest. Use
He's
some
our
time.
canary
You
in
know
the
you're
coal
not-
mine.
If Sean Bean is alive, you're still
Yeah, everybody else is fine. Sean Bean's like, do you guys think I should go get some fire? No, Sean Bean, no. You stay with
You
us.
stay here, Sean.
You stay here. Somebody else go.
I like that line of
It's our
thinking.
cheat code.
Pat, you got. It looks like you're on the cusp of saying someone.
I don't know who's like Mel Brooks has got to be like 100 and is still alive.
He's
So
old.
it just must be like
I also
unkillable.
thought Mel Brooks.
Why?
Wait,
Yeah.
really?
How did both of you think Mel Brooks was?
I don't know. I don't know.
What possible skills is
Just
he
like
bringing
if
to the table?
life hasn't killed him yet, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. It's
Think of all
Henry
the
Kissinger
answers.
then. It's the guy that everybody else wants to die who just won't go. So it's Henry Kissinger.
But the thing is, Kissinger would bring morale down so much.
Yeah, that's
whereas Mel Brooks
What a
would
bummer.
really keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's my pick, Mel Brooks.
All right, I love that
Very
pick.
weird.
I love that pick. All right, what was the worst pick of the draft?
I don't know.
Who do we want to make particularly mad?
I mean, maybe Lauren first overall, just because Preston had to take her. You know
It's
what
a
I mean?
difficult value proposition
trapped.
because if I was picking second, it's possible she would have made it back to me. But had she not, oh boy, that's a difficult thing to live with.
I will say, Preston. Let's say Lauren's not eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you have taken first overall?
Probably Sue. Yeah, Sue seems like the most like well-rounded in all of the facets we have described.
Yeah. Does Lauren vote on the shows?
Yeah, most of the time.
Okay.
Do you think?
So it wasn't a wasted pick.
Well, yeah. Listen, I get at least one vote, and I get to like have a normal life for a bit. Sometimes
no,
I just
that's
have to wait
important.
until she forgets about something, and then I can go back to it. But
Do you think Lauren will be like, that was a bad pick? You shouldn't have picked me.
I think she has the confidence to know that like she would be good at this. I think
Yeah,
she understands slasher horror films pretty well.
Uh-huh.
And she's probably like, the pretty girl doesn't die first kind of thing. So I'm gonna make it at least a couple rounds. I think she knows that she's capable of making it through to the end of this, especially when I die and she goes full blown like Carrie,
Super Saiyan.
Like I have now turned and I'm now the villain. Yeah, that's going to be a problem for everybody else.
Yeah. Including maybe your own teammates.
Possibly, but hey, one person's going to make it out, so.
They just get stuck in the rampage. Yeah, I think even a lot of the picks that like on paper don't seem great, I think everyone did a good job of kind of like giving justifiable good reasons for why they actually would be good. Which I love. That's my favorite thing to do in this show for me personally. And I feel like other people don't do it enough. So to see both of you do it really spectacularly really made me happy. I like that a lot.
And yet you still give me shit for picking New Jersey, despite having...
It was objectively
bad. Ironclad
objectively
rationale.
Bad.
No.
And also thinking that Michael Jordan never existed. That's also just not a great opinion.
It's...
Okay. This is a brilliant idea. Okay, Preston and I before the show, we're thinking ahead of next year, changes we want to make to maybe make the show a little bit more profitable for the amount of time that we both put into it. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to think of things that we can do for, to get people to subscribe to the Patreon beyond just like leaving edited bits out or leaving edited bits in for them.
Foot stuff.
Let's have people on to revisit old shows.
Right.
Rehash the controversial moments. That's perfect for that.
I think so too. I'll cut a couple clips of Pat being absolutely dumb in that first episode we did with him.
Perfect.
And then we'll have him react live.
We're really selling it to him to get him to want to do it.
This is all I think about all day is like my grievances over you guys giving me shit for the Michael Jordan pick, which is so defensible because he's clearly a fictional version of himself.
Listen, I see both sides. It's Preston who feels very strongly about
this. Listen, the licensed teams in the movie just lend itself to not being.
Listen, you're giving away Patreon content for free. You're giving it away for free. All right. Whose team is going to have the most survivors at the end of the horror movie? What do we think? Let's just have an open-ended conversation here, okay? We don't need to pick anyone outright because we always pick our own goddamn teams, and it's the least interesting part of the show. Let's just have an open analysis of the overall teams and how we think we did.
I do think Pat has a very nicely rounded team, but I think I'm buying into his explanation pretty well. But he has like different bases covered. Pat, who's your potential, halfway through the movie, the killer's gone too far, somebody picks up the axe and turns. Who's that person on your team?
Kelsey.
Yeah.
That's a sharp turn. It's a sharp turn.
I know, he's dead right about that. Preston did make an interesting point, though, saying he has a lot of bases covered. Is that risky in a way? Are you kind of guaranteeing that because you're kind of spread out that some of your people are going to die? Is there a risk?
I'm not going for 6 out of 6 survivors here, but I feel pretty good about getting, on average, 4.5 to 5 people coming out of this alive.
Which I feel
like is a solid number.
I think,
which is a solid.
If you get 4.5, I think you win.
I think 3.5 is sort of the line here.
And I say this knowing basically nothing about Tim Linnefelt. So, who knows?
He's completely expendable.
If I'm being real.
I think Tim would go early for you.
Yeah.
He'd go a little early.
Yeah. And I mostly am saying that because of all these people, I'm pretty sure he's the least likely to listen to this. So he's an easy mark, shall we say.
Daniel, who's your... potential psychopath on your team? I think I know the answer, but
oh gosh, I think I kind of have. I think I have a couple. I don't think Sue. I think Sue is such a beast that they don't even need to go psychopath to be that person, which is pretty cool. I think Sue has that within their normal levels, which is why they're such a valuable pick. Easy to see Tad flipping that switch.
A little too easy, actually, to see him flipping that switch.
yeah, maybe a little too easy. I could see Jose flipping that switch. And this is maybe a dark horse pick, but I honestly could see Lee having a little bit of darkness in there. I think Lee
that.
of all the people we've had on the draft is like no. Okay. Hear me out. Lee, I think, is probably the sweetest person that we've ever had on the show. She's like basically a Disney movie character in real life.
What is she
very
hiding?
Sweet, very kind. Exactly.
What is that covering up?
Exactly, Pat. Pat is hitting the nail on the head. There is something there that she is covering for. Something dark. And that's what I'm banking on with Lee.
Something dark. There's a hidden darkness. Okay.
Yeah. What about you? Is it only Lauren, do you think, that has that? I think Pat
we talked about Pat a little bit.
Made very clear earlier.
We talked about Pat a little bit. I do think Lauren and Pat are going to get into some very good for the plot arguments. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're going to be
right.
very contentious about what to do next, the two of them. And maybe it even splits the party. You know what I mean?
Splitting the party, I think, is the concern there. But I do think you want to avoid groupthink. I think groupthink is what gets people into trouble a lot of the time in horror movies. So having a little bit of friction there is not the worst thing. But yeah, splitting the group is always bad. So hopefully it doesn't get to that.
I will say,
I do think
there's a very clear hierarchy on my team of who dies and who lives. Like, I think more so than all of your other teams, you'd be like, it could be a mix of people depending on who chooses to go. John and I die, and then it's probably Pat, but he dies more successfully than the two of us. And then Lauren, Katie, and Britt make it out.
What were you going to say, Pat?
I would say, like, I'm kind of stoked to be on that team for vibes. Like, I feel like this is like a good
vibes team.
Just in terms of like conversation.
That's true.
Like, we're all like stuck on a bus, and there's like a killer outside or whatever. I feel like I can have good convos with
You'd enjoy your last moments.
That's actually a really good point. Even if you all die, you guys have the best time.
For sure.
The most good moves going around. Yeah.
And I do think maybe Lauren and I like have a little good-natured, who I've never met. Is Lauren coming to the wedding, by the way? Am I going to finally be able to meet?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Lauren?
I got to talk to her
putting you on blast right now, on the spot, on mic. But yeah, I do, I think there could be, and like, even like some of the people I know on the team, like Katie and I already have a little like good-natured friction to our rapport. So I think we would have some of that. Like we're the group that I think
John is very good for that.
Yeah, the screenwriters would have the most fun with our.
I think that's group, right.
I think.
Preston did say something interesting that I want to circle back to here. You highlighted two people that you think are pretty much guaranteed to die. One of which was you, which was your last pick. So that kind of makes sense, and you gave good reasoning for that. The other person you just mentioned I found very interesting because John Wolfe, he was your third pick.
But he's gonna be very helpful up until that point. Super helpful. He's gonna know exactly what's going on. He's gonna see right through the veil, and he's gonna get the most people paying attention quickly. You know what I mean?
Okay. Sure.
So here's the order of events. Okay. Preston goes out for a pack of smokes, never comes back. Everybody's like, well, he probably got distracted by some sort of arcade or something, and he's just playing,
or he remembered that he doesn't smoke.
He remembered that he doesn't smoke. And instead, he walked into an arcade, and now he's playing Ninja Turtles in Time, and he never came back. And then John's like, actually, guys, I don't know if you saw this, but on our way here, we were being followed by a truck that had a bunch of animal carcasses hanging off of it. And that's a telltale sign of bad guy. So maybe let's be on a little bit more alert. And then John offers to go prove that the truck is real and investigate, and he gets taken. But by that point, everybody's like, okay, now this is bad.
That would be an incredible act from John if he's like, I am so sure that there's a psycho killer out here, and I need the validation of being proven right about that to the extent.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
That would be incredible.
You go out being right,
Right. It's like as
You
the
get-
machete
sure.
is
I
coming
knew
out,
it!
he's like, I
I
fucking
told those
knew
guys.
it! Let's go!
Who do you guys think is going to win the vote here?
I think Pat.
I never know with these things. I don't know. I feel like
It's hard to tell sometimes.
if we can have a more existential conversation about the show. Daniel,
Sure.
I feel like you draft for votes, or at least with voting strategy in mind. So you have a much better
Partially,
handle
at least, yeah.
on like what's going to get votes and what isn't. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm drafting for concept. You know, I'm drafting for what do
Yeah.
I truly think
You're a purist.
the correct answer is. So I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know who's
what
gonna
am I
get the most
drafting
votes.
for?
Your heart.
Yeah, I feel like you're closer to me.
Got it.
Where you're, but occasionally you stumble to the dark side a little bit of like, I think this is actually gonna get the most votes. And actually, in some ways, I feel like that's when you
When I fuck
screw
up
up.
the
Fall
most.
apart the most.
Yeah.
Is when you
Yeah.
lose,
Head dumb, heart
lose your
smart.
way a little
Listen,
bit. Head dumb,
He,
heart smart.
he doesn't listen to his own mantra enough.
dumb,
That's
heart
his
smart.
problem.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get tattooed on my
Um,
chest.
I also have no idea how any human person is going to react to
know.
this of what we just
Right?
did right here, which is maybe the single most niche
Yeah.
thing.
It's the most
anyone has
narrow
ever done?
casting you can do. It will only make sense for like 4
Right.
people on
But-
Earth, and we are 3 of them. So
No, that's not true. Everyone who listens to the show is going to get it. We narrowcast it to our audience. It's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
I believe in you. I mean, listen, if somebody else had a better Halloween idea, they should have gotten at us, you know. So
All right, listen. I think this is a great episode, and I'm glad we did it. And I think
we don't do that
people
enough
like
at the
it.
end of our show. We just reflect and say, "Hey, guys, this one was a good one.
Good show.
Good job
This
out
is a
there.
good show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good hustle."
Yeah. Well, that's because if we did that, we probably wouldn't do the show anymore. Because like 9 times out of 10, it's like, this one
Yeah,
wasn't very
scrap
good.
it.
Why do we
Scrap
keep
it.
doing this? But Pat, thank you so much for coming on and indulging us in our weird insanity.
Fellas, this is my favorite podcast. Always a pleasure to be here. A slightly less good podcast that you should all still listen to at home. I know I've sort of like iterations of this and updates on it have been going on my last couple appearances, but Huck and Hope, the podcast that I did, produced by Lindsay Sue and co-hosted by Brian Kibler, is now fully completed. So only subscribers to ultiworld.com can have access to all 6 episodes. The first 2 are free. And I can say that I think it is the single most accessible piece of Ultimate Frisbee media that has been
I would
created.
totally agree with that. Yeah.
So if you were...
Yeah, because it's not even
No,
really about
it's
Ultimate.
about
Right.
somebody who dreamt a little too big and a little too fast. And it's really good. I think it's fantastic.
And Preston and I are in it.
Hell yeah.
Wh-
Lending voice to the internet.
Yeah, which episode is that? 2 or 3?
3. Yeah.
3, I believe.
3.
Yeah, so you got to subscribe. You got to subscribe.
Yeah,
to hear,
perfect.
To hear Daniel
Perfect.
and Preston.
Or I feel like a lot of our audience probably are Ulti-World subscribers already. Go listen to the pod. Go listen to the pod. Some very, very talented people were on it, and I am not including myself.
I was going to
I'll
say,
include
you
Preston.
almost looped me in there with you. I was like, oh, that's bold.
I'm like, nah, I almost did it. I was
It's
like,
been
I
a rough
haven't
enough
enough
night for me.
I won't do this to him
let's just
too.
leave it at that.
I won't throw him under the bus again. Preston, do you have anything to say to the listeners?
No,
before
I
we
mean, there's
say goodnight?
honor in drafting yourself, you know? Sometimes you got to believe in your own ability
true.
to
Yeah.
die early.
I think it feels a little late to do it now. Maybe we'll look back on a future episode or something. But I am curious to know what it was like to draft yourself.
Hated it.
But it's hated it. Okay,
Yeah.
well there you go. And in that way, it was perfectly fitting that Preston did it. Y'all hope he. Why can I never talk at this part of the show?
Yeah, you
Anytime I'm trying
completely
to say
lose
goodbye,
all
my-
of your mind whenever we get
It
to
just
this
all
part.
goes. It all just shuts down. Happy Halloween, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to Drafted. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. It's free to join. And also, there's a new Patreon thing where you can just follow. We'll do better about just posting things on there that you don't have to be paying us money to see. But right now, you can sign up. Even for a paid tier, it's completely free because our payments are turned off, and you can get access to every single thing we've ever posted there. And if you want, you can cancel before we start charging for episodes again. So do that. Join the Discord. Tell us what insane draft to do next for the next holiday special. But yeah, happy Halloween. Stay safe. We love you, and we'll talk to you Thanksgiving.